Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Josie Dunham, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Captain Michael Manfield. This evening, we welcome the state and territory winners and runners-up from the Simpsons Prize, a national history competition for secondary students. Winners of the prize will travel to Gallipoli and tour the battlefields on the peninsula and attend Anzac Day events. We also welcome members of the Special Services Officers course of 012017 who are joining us this evening. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, the Aspire Group travelling with the University of New South Wales, Narrabeen Lakes Public School, Narrabeen, and Heritage College, Lake Macquarie, Morisset. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Girls and boys, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's first World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land that they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the name of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Gunner Harold Inglis. Harold Inglis was born on the 12th of April, 1892, the youngest son of John and Elizabeth Inglis of the Port Adelaide district in South Australia. Harold's grandfather had been the harbour master at Port Adelaide for many years and was a well-known figure in Adelaide. His father was the chief draftsman from the Harbours Board for many years before working for the Adelaide Steamship Company. Harold attended the Lefevre Peninsula School, but unlike his father and grandfather, steered away from the sea, instead becoming an accountant. He was a member of St Paul's Choir in Port Adelaide and the Port Adelaide Sailing Club. Harold Inglis enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in late 1916. By this stage, his cousin, Private William Young, who had grown up in the Inglis household, had been missing for 3 months after the fighting around Pozières, and would later be confirmed as having been killed in action at Pozières in early August 1916. Inglis left Australia in December 1916 on board the troopship Orontes. He was sent to England, where he trained with the 2nd Divisional Ammunition Column before transferring to the 5th Field Artillery Brigade as a gunner. Although often far behind enemy lines, the field artillery batteries were under constant danger from the German guns. Massive artillery duels were conducted throughout the war, in which each side tried to neutralise the threat posed by the guns of the other, by blowing them up or by killing, gassing, or wounding the crews. In early November 1917, the 5th Field Artillery Brigade was operating near the front line in Belgium when they came under very heavy gas shelling. Gunner Inglis was gassed badly enough to be evacuated from the front line and took a few weeks to return to his unit. Not long after, Inglis's battery came under fire near Oostheave Farm. He was one of 3 men wounded that day. He suffered wounds to his left forearm and thigh that were not considered particularly serious at the time and was evacuated to hospital near Boulogne. However, he took a turn for the worse after being admitted to hospital, and he died of his wounds on the 19th of January 1918. Gunner Harold Inglis was buried at the Wimereux Communal Cemetery, where his remains lie today, under the simple words, "Ever remembered." He was 25 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Gunner Harold Inglis, who gave his life for us, our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.